Good afternoon and welcome to Northeast Delta HSA's Transformation Thursday. And today we're bringing it to you on a Tuesday in preparation for our NED Talk this Thursday in Madison Parish. And so let's get into it. I am going to introduce our guest today to talk about our upcoming NED Talk. First, we have our agency lead on all NED Talks and Community Coalition Liaison, Dr. Monohn Prud'homme.
Good morning, Dr. Carroll.
Good morning, Dr. Prud'homme. We also have our facilitator workshop and expert family counselor, Dr. Sabryna Herring-Anwine.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Welcome, Dr. Herring-Anwine.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. We also have our superintendent for Madison Parish School District, Dr. Charlie Butler Jr.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. And last but not least, we have Miss Jennifer Haneline with the Louisiana Campaign for Tobacco-Free Living.
Hi, thank you so much for having me to be here to talk about this important event and the topics.
Hello, Jennifer, are you with us?
Hi, yes, again, I'll say it again. Thank you so much for having me to talk about these very important topics and the event coming up.
Well, thank you. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to first pitch the first question to Dr. Prud'homme. What is the vision behind the NED Talk Road Tour?
So our NED Talk Road Tour, we have coalitions around Region 8 that address underage drinking and substance abuse. So we started a coalition in Madison and East Carroll Parish. And the goal is, as a coalition, we were tasked with a prevention strategy support. And so this year we wanted to present evidence-based prevention strategies to Tallulah and to also Lake Providence. So we had to address different casual factors like social norms, access to substances, family dynamics, and trauma. And we were tasked with representing our schools, our community stakeholders, healthcare workers, specifically students. So we were like, how do we address these casual factors by representing these different organizations, these individuals? So we came up with NED Talk, which stands for Northeast Delta Talk. So NED Talk is a series of conversations that addresses these casual factors. So that's how we came up with the road tour. So we have a NED Talk Ouachita Parish, which we've already hosted in January. Our next one is NED Talk Madison/East Carroll Parish, which will be next Thursday. After this one, we will have a NED Talk in Lincoln Parish, which is the Ruston area. And then our last one will be NED Talk Franklin Parish, which is going to be in the Winsboro area. And the goal, again, is just to address to the community, to students, to the community stakeholders about the importance of underage drinking and substance abuse.
Speaking of talking about underage drinking and substance abuse and addressing that student population, we have our workshop facilitator and guest speaker, Dr. Sabryna Herring-Anwine. And so she will be hosting and facilitating this conversation this Thursday. And so Dr. Herring-Anwine, can you explain the focus of your workshop and why it resonates with young people?
Yes, absolutely. So I feel like the workshop is going to be centered on having real life conversations about substance use, not using scare tactics, not using a full out lecture or just throwing a whole bunch of statistics at students context. I feel like young people respond because we get to meet them where they are developmentally and emotionally. And we're going to talk about pressure. We're going to talk about identity, mental health. We're going to talk about coping. And then we also talk about substances, of course. But I think what resonates most is that we're not talking at them. We're talking with them. And they're invited into the conversation. They're allowed to ask questions, allowed to reflect and just be as honest as they want to without any fear or consequences. And I feel like when young people are seen instead of shamed, they tend to open up a little bit more. And so I think that's when real learning happens. So that is going to be the focus of the workshop, and I feel like it's going to be a good one.
Thank you. So another focus is vaping, which we have seen some similar trends across our state with increase amongst youth and some decreases as well in older populations. But we want to also bring in that conversation and talk to youth about vaping. And so, Jennifer, why is vaping prevention such an urgent topic for youth today?
Well, there's a few reasons for that. And I appreciate, first of all, what Dr. Herring-Anwine said about really engaging youth and making them part of the conversation, not talking to them or at them, but with them. It's so crucial to this issue. And, the problem is, so statistically, we're looking at 1 in 3 high school students. So 15 years to 18, 1 in 3 of them are actively vaping daily, are addicted to nicotine. And then in middle school, so 12 to 15-year-olds, 12 to 14, 1 in 5 are actively vaping, so addicted to nicotine already at those young ages, 12 years old, already addicted. So that's a huge problem. And it really comes from so much misinformation about vaping, those yummy flavors and scents that the tobacco companies push out to get these kids hooked. And it, a lot of them think it's safe because of the nice scents and the yum flavors. And, and it's also so crucial because in a society where mental health challenges are at an all-time high, vaping is making them worse. And that nicotine and what it does to the brain and mental health is just such a huge concern. And that's why I'm so glad we're talking about this.
Thank you. And so, Dr. Butler, you've heard from Dr. Anwine and also Ms. Jennifer Haneline about some of the information that's going to be provided. So from a school district perspective, why is it important for students to have access to prevention-focused conversations like NED Talk?
Yes, from a school district's perspective, this preventive focus is paramount. It's essential. Example, challenges that we have, crisis, strengthening relationships, and just creating conditions where students need to be successful here in society. Way too often we deal with the aftermath. We're trying to be proactive and not, reactive. For example, you have discipline issues that arise, disengagement in the classrooms, attendance concerns, mental health emergencies that happens in the schools all the time. So a preventive measure will allow us to intervene early, preserve that instructional time, and not punish the kids in a school system where we're trying to promote them socially. So it's very much needed here in Tallulah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Dr. Prud'homme, hearing that, how does coalition work strengthen prevention efforts in communities like Madison and East Carroll Parish?
So coalition work strengthens our work because, first of all, it's all about evidence-based prevention strategies. So the more individuals that you are able to gather or to invite to be a part of the coalition, the bigger the message is for our prevention work. So we have individuals in the Madison and East Carroll Parish Coalition like Chief of Police, Chief McCoy from Tallulah. We have truancy officer. We have the band director and local teachers at Madison High School and General Trask High School. We have community stakeholders. So the more individuals and community stakeholders that are known to the community, that are already on the ground doing the work that we are able to bring to be a part of the coalition, the more the messaging can go out, the more basically individuals that can be reached through the work that we are doing. And that's why coalition work is so important to what we're doing.
And building on that and making sure that message gets out, Dr. Anwine, what makes early prevention conversations so critical?
So I feel like early prevention is so critical because addiction doesn't just start with, or substance misuse doesn't start with addiction. It starts with curiosity. It starts with stress. It starts with social pressure or really just wanting to fit in. And I feel like if we wait until there's a visible problem, we are already behind. And so being able to have these conversations early, it gives young people language for what they're feeling. It gives them tools to manage stress, and it gives them some confidence to make decisions that they can be proud of before substances become their go-to coping strategy. And so prevention is really about just equipping them, not policing them. And we've definitely got to have those conversations early.
And speaking on equipping them, what are some common myths students have about substance use that you address?
I think one of the biggest myths that I've heard is that everybody is doing it, which we all know is simply not true.
Right.
So when you're young, your perception of things can feel like reality, and that's not true. Everybody is not doing it. I think that another myth would be that substances are the only way to cope with stress, anxiety, or anything like that. And that's not true. I think that what happens is that we don't have the coping tools, or we don't have the tools in our toolbox to handle these things. And so I feel like it's the easy way out. We take the easy way out and go to substances because it means that we're not having to really focus on these things at this point, but we're having to come back to them. And so when we're talking about myths, we're also going to normalize how things like vaping or marijuana can feel safe or harmless because they're so common. But we all know that common doesn't necessarily mean healthy. And facts matter. So context matters even more. And so I feel like when students understand the why behind things, I feel like that information sticks with them a little bit better. So those are a few of the myths, and we're going to break down some of those on Thursdays.
Great. And Jennifer, just some education behind vaping. What trends are you seeing among students related to vaping and nicotine use?
Well, so obviously trends are always changing, and I'm looking at this panel, and we're all adults, and so what's really going on with our youth shifts regularly. But we do know that there are many products out there to hide vaping. That is a very common trend, whether that's putting it in highlighters or tubes in their hoodies. There are ways to hide it, and then there's lots of TikToks and Snapchat, all the things to help kids hide it if they want to. The Zyn pouches that they put in that don't have an aerosolized chemical coming out of them, is a huge trend we are seeing all over the country, and definitely here in Louisiana. And youth are able to access that a little easier. So that's a problem there. And of course, social media glamorization of vaping and of using these chemicals is a problem for that. So those are probably the biggest things that we're seeing right now.
Mm-hmm. And so you talked a little bit earlier about the prevalence, and now you just spoke to some of the trends. So how does vaping impact mental health, focus, and academic performance?
This is such a great question, because our youth today have access to way more information than any of us did coming up when we were young, which means that they are also inundated by so much more stressful topics than we ever had to deal with. And so our youth are dealing with so many big topics, big problems, big ideas, in addition to, being harassed and those kinds of things online, that type of stuff. So stress and anxiety is at an all-time high. And big tobacco, since they went way back to World War II, they know that the more stress that a person has, the more nicotine they use, the more tobacco products they use. And so they prey on that. They prey on our populations who have the highest stress levels, high poverty, any kind of marginalized or populations that are minoritized in our country to have highest stress levels. And so that drives nicotine use and tobacco sales. And, the issue too is early research already shows things like decrease in gray matter in the brains of youth who use tobacco at early ages. So we're talking about permanent physical damage to an individual's brain. It increases clinical disorders like anxiety and major depression. So not just a temporary little blip and I'm stressed out, but clinical disorders that need treatment. It interferes with memory, attention, causes irritability. I mean, all of these things impact learning and education, which is why I'm so glad Dr. Butler is here and involved, and they do a great job with trying to work with students who are vaping. And all of this is in addition to causing cancer, lung damage, permanent things that cause lifelong damage to students, reduces physical performance. So working with a band director is so important because that affects their instrument, which is their lungs, to be able to perform in that way. But athletes who vape, it causes a decrease in their functioning and their ability. And then there's vanity issues. It causes early wrinkling. It causes dry skin. It causes things that so many youth are trying to look prettier or look more glamorous by doing it, but they're causing damage that actually interferes with that or counteracts that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that, Jennifer. And Dr. Butler, with all this information being shared, what outcomes do you hope students take away from this event?
Yes. Well, I know this event is just one day here in Madison, but I want to be impactful and long lasting. I want this event to be able to provide the students with some self-awareness, because they'll be with themselves at all the times, even after this, just helping them be able to make good decisions, finding out their triggers and their coping mechanisms, because at the end of the day, we might have all this going on through our district. We're still accountable for that end goal, which is our SPS goal. But they don't see all the trials and tribulations before that. So hopefully, our kids can take this in and be able to use these triggers and these coping mechanisms to get through the day. Like you mentioned, it's so many decisions on kids today that it's crazy. You want to be cool, the cool person, and the cool person's supposed to be doing this. The more communication that we can provide those kids, we'll be able to help them cope with it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And so now I'm going to ask a call to action question to each of our guests today as we culminate this conversation. Dr. Prud'homme, how can community members stay involved after NED Talk?
Community members can stay involved after NED Talk by joining our coalition. That is what we want you all to do. You can contact our agency, Northeast Delta Human Services Authority, and ask how to join the coalition, and they will point you to me. Also, I will have these join our coalition cards on Thursday at NED Talk. So you can come up to our agency resource table and fill out a card and join the coalition, because we need you. Our biggest strategy after NED Talk will be our youth summit that we're looking to host end of March, early April. And so the youth summit is our biggest strategy for underage drinking and substance abuse. It's a lot of fun. And both Madison High School and General Trask typically attend every year. They have together over 300 students that attend. So we are looking to expand the coalition. So if you're in the Madison Parish area, the East Carroll Parish area, find me at the NED Talk and join our coalition. We would love to have you.
Thank you. And Dr. Anwine, what would you say to a student who's unsure if prevention education really applies to them?
I would tell them that prevention isn't necessarily about assuming that you're going to make a bad choice. It's about protecting your future in the event that you have to be in this situation to make a choice. Even if you never plan on using substances, these are conversations that are still so important to have. Being able to support your friends, being able to recognize your red flags, being able to handle any kind of pressure, and just make confident decisions when situations come up unexpectedly. So prevention isn't about knowing that you're going to make the bad decision, but knowing like what to do whenever you are in that situation. And it's really just about power. I feel like prevention is about power, about having options, being able to have a voice in these situations, and knowing that you don't have to follow the crowd to belong.
Absolutely. I love that comment about prevention is about power. Mm-hmm. And Jennifer, what is one message you want every young person and parent to remember about vaping?
You know, I think the most important thing is to understand that a choice that seems like it's minimal and won't have long-term consequences actually could. And whether that's because of mental health issues, learning challenges, brain chemistry alterations, social repercussions, or even legal problems, vaping could lead to a total change of course in a person's trajectory. And I also love what Dr. Herring-Anwine said about power, because it is about embracing the power for one's future and knowing that something that seems so small as vaping actually does change somebody's future.
Absolutely. And Dr. Butler, what should parents and community members attend? Why should parents and community members attend NED Talk alongside students?
Well, I think the prevention works when it doesn't stop at the school door or this meeting door. It helps when parents are involved to be able to help that message continue at home and back and forth. If it's a shared language between, counselors, school leaders, school teachers, and parents, it just shows the unification, so the message can get across with the students. That's what, that's a big, it's real big when we have that parent school community connection. It just helps the overall approach. Conversations, you can have that conversation at home and talk that same language. Students see us, just being unified in the message.
Absolutely. And before we end, Dr. Prud'homme, would you share with our audience again information about the NED Talk, the date, the time, the location, for everyone to join us on this Thursday?
Yes, this Thursday, January 22nd, we will host our Madison and East Carroll Parish NED Talk at the Tallulah Community Center. It's going to be from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. We will have 4 schools represented there, 2 from Madison Parish, which are Madison High School and Madison Middle School, and the 2 from East Carroll Parish will be General Trask High School and Southside Upper and Lower Elementary. We are looking to host about 269 students, and with our coalition and community members so far, we have confirmed about 300 people. So come out. We have Dr. Sabryna Herring-Anwine as our workshop facilitator presenting. We will have Jennifer Haneline presenting some information about vaping. We'll also have our superintendents there. Dr. Charlie Butler will bring greetings, and Dr. Megan Brown. And additionally, we will have Generation RX, which is just a short, brief training on medication management for children. So come out this Thursday and join us from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. We're going to have food also. We'll have really good pizza and drinks for the kids. So that's NED Talk, and we're looking forward to seeing you on Thursday.
Thank you so much. And to all of our guests, thank you guys so much for coming on this podcast, sharing information. Thank you for inviting your constituents, being there. We look forward to having this conversation. We look forward to hearing from you guys, and we'll see you Thursday at NED Talk.